When your wife has asked for separation or divorce, you're at a really important crossroads in terms of how you decide to approach the coming months and if that actually leads to reconciliation or divorce. And a major mistake we've seen overly logic focused and emotionally distant men who are at this crossroads make over and over again is to fall into a trap of we at Genuinely Reconnected call relational scorecarding. Now, many of you have probably heard of the term scorekeeping in a relationship. This is where you might excessively focus on things like how much you've done for your partner, how much you've contributed financially to the relationship, and how much you've initiated intimacy. All with the underlying idea, whether intentionally or unintentionally, that a relationship always needs to be fair. Scorekeeping is what we're referring to in our model when we refer to transactional scorecarding. But there's another major component of scorecarding which goes beyond the traditional idea of scorekeeping, which is just as, if not more important, when someone's marriage is on the rocks. Grievance scorecarding is where, whether intentionally or unintentionally, partners keep track of the emotional hurt their spouse has caused for them, both in the past and today. And this idea of grievance scorecarding is dangerous enough for a relationship in normal times, but when you combine it with someone who's also facing the possibility of separation and divorce, it's almost like throwing a match on a massive trail of gasoline. And that's why I'm really happy that you're watching this video, because our focus is going to be on sharing frameworks you can start applying today to make a core shift away from relational scorecarding. Because the path to reconciliation from our years of experience working with men isn't always about what you do, it can actually oftentimes be about what you don't do. And in this case, of course, it's the idea of not falling into the traps of transactional scorecarding and grievance scorecarding when your wife has asked for separation or divorce, which will only accelerate the end of your marriage. The first framework I really want to share with you around being able to switch away from relational scorecarding is the idea of fully releasing and letting go of a relationship or marriage always needing to be fair. Because the reality of the situation is that a marriage is never going to be 50-50 because of two big variances: time variances and strength variances. So let's go deeper into both of these to help you understand the need to let go of relational scorecarding and the idea of always needing fairness in your relationship. When I say time variances, I mean that no marriage is ever going to be 50-50 all the time with what each partner's contribution is to the household. Instead, there are going to be different seasons in your marriage where one person might be doing more and other seasons where the other person could be doing more. For example, I know in my marriage, there have been points where things have been busy for me on the work front, and so that meant my wife was doing more at home to make sure everything was running smoothly. Likewise, when my wife was going back to school to do her master's full-time, while also working full-time, meant I was doing more on the home front instead. And these types of seasons will happen in any relationship for so many different reasons, from one partner starting a new job or business, to going back to school, or even taking care of an elderly parent. And this means sometimes the household distribution could look like it's 70-30, and other times it could look like it's 40-60. It's rarely going to be consistently 50-50 because both you and your wife are still two different people with different potential goals and obligations. To really help you shift more away from this mindset of fairness at all times, I really want to share an important concept with you around capacity and effort in a relationship. There could be seasons in your relationship where, because of other things going on, you or your wife's capacity to commit to the relationship after giving to all these other things is maybe only 30%. But as long as that person is putting in the effort to give you that 30%, which is their maximum capacity, we shouldn't necessarily fault them. Now, of course, this is really different from someone who has a hypothetical capacity of 100% and is only giving you effort equal to 30%. And hopefully, as you're hearing me talk about this, there's a core shift happening internally from you around seeing fairness with your wife from the perspective of what their capacity is at different points in time and approaching things from a more empathetic lens in the future. Now, besides this idea of time variances and no variance ever being 50-50 all the time, I also want to talk to you about the idea of strength variances and how not understanding this really important variance can also cause you to fall into the trap of relational scorecarding and overly fixating on fairness in your relationship. Strength variances is the idea that each person brings different abilities and strengths into the relationship and that all strengths are valuable in their own way. For example, I know in my relationship, I'm the one who brings a greater sense of financial responsibility and planning into the relationship, versus my wife brings a greater sense of creativity and emotional care into our household. Now, as you're probably hearing this, it's very easy for both you and the old version of me, Mark 1.0, to look at this from a logic-focused and emotionally distant lens and see the strength that I bring to the relationship as way more valuable than potentially the one my wife brings. But I want to stop you there for a moment and ask you to think about how much your own biases might be playing a role in deciding what strengths are more valuable versus less valuable in a relationship. In all of our own work with logic-focused and emotionally distant men, we found that to some degree, the fixation on fairness does actually stem from an underlying belief that their strengths are much more valuable to the relationship, which in turn means that they feel that they're providing more to the relationship, which in turn means that they feel that they have a greater right to be upset or have resentment towards their wives when things aren't going well, or if they've asked for separation or divorce. Now, although this idea of strength variances sounds like a pretty straightforward concept, it can actually be pretty challenging to embody at your core. So I want to share with you a powerful and practical approach to help you make the shift at your core. This is around really starting to embrace what is uniquely special about your wife that you might be quick to forget in your day-to-day, especially when you throw in the chaos of separation and divorce that's likely further built resentment internally for you towards your wife. When we work with men in our program, we often encourage them to keep what we call a core shifts journal to help them in their journey of becoming the 2.0 version of themselves. In our program, we encourage men to dedicate a section of their core shifts journal to what we call the Why I Love Her section. And this is a section where you should try and regularly write down 3 reasons why you love and appreciate your wife. This can be anything from a personality trait to a feature of hers, or just how she makes you feel. And typically we encourage doing this Why I Love Her section every day, or at the very least, looking over it every day. And let me just take a moment to quickly address any concerns you might have about repeating the same things in your journal day to day, because that's totally okay and expected. Repetition isn't a sign that you don't appreciate many things about your wife. It actually means that you keep listing regularly the same traits because those are things you truly cherish, and that's why they keep coming up. And what's uniquely special about a Why I Love Her section in your core shift journal is that it'll actually start to wire your mind on both a conscious and subconscious level to pay more attention to the things you appreciate about your wife, even when you're not writing in your journal. And this wiring is going to allow you to not be as focused on fairness and more around the idea of what you can do to express your appreciation for your wife on a regular basis. But don't expect this to happen overnight. It will take deliberate and consistent effort on your part to follow through with the Why I Love Her reflections on a regular basis and to actually have that lead to core shifts internally. So that's everything for this video. As a quick refresher, I just want to summarize what we covered so you can start working on core shifts as soon as possible. Our first major focus in this video was around the idea of relational scorecarding, which you can break out into transactional scorecarding and grievance scorecarding, and how both of these scorecarding approaches creates a lot of resentment and fixation on fairness in your relationship, especially if your wife has asked for separation or divorce. To try and move away from this, you want to recognize that because of time variances and strength variances, a relationship will never be 50-50. You also want to make sure you're assessing for both capacity and effort before jumping to any conclusions around fairness in your relationship. And lastly, if you really want to start making core changes today to get rid of any resentment you have towards your wife around her asking for separation or divorce, make sure you have a section of your core shifts journal titled Why I Love Her, where you're regularly reflecting on why you appreciate your wife. Now, if everything I've said in this video has resonated with you and you're someone who's serious about rebuilding your relationship with your wife, I want to invite you to check out the link in the description to join our relationship rebuild program, where not only do we equip you with what you need to rebuild your relationship, but we also offer you the support and accountability of our community so you don't have to walk this journey of growth and transformation alone. As a first step, you can book a free advisory call with someone on our team. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you can continue to receive more content from our end on how to genuinely restore connection in your marriage.